Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? It's finally feeling kind of like spring around here. Been a busy day, been mowing the yard, and getting ready for Easter tomorrow with the family and getting ready to do some colored eggs, and I even got to go morel mushroom hunting. I've been several times this year. Everything here in Indiana this year has been incredibly weird and off. It's been a cold, wet spring. Seeds have had a hard time germinating, and so far I've only found one mushroom, which I lucked into today. Maybe we'll get lucky in the next day or two here, and I'll find a few more. I'd like to find at least 20 or 30 anyways, enough to, sort of have for me and mom and dad and Kim and Penny, and I'd be pretty happy. But as always, send me your questions about the art of distillation. Happy to answer them, whether that's amateur or professional distillation. I don't always have all the answers, but what I do know, I'm glad to share with everyone out there for sure. So what else is on the agenda today? So physical almanacs supposed to be here next Friday. So they've been in the mail for over a month now. They're still moving. I don't know what's going on with the U.S. Postal Service, but I've about lost faith in them on and not the workers. I know the workers, the delivery people do a very hard job. I do appreciate them greatly, but damn, as far as the administration of the U.S. Postal Service goes, what a disappointment. I don't know how you lose multiple shipments of books and then you take 2 months to get a shipment of books here. Now, the publisher we're working with is awesome. They gave us a credit on the next order of books, which is fantastic, and they're looking into it, and they're going to get us books here. They've been really good to work with. So, it's just a shipping issue. It is what it is. That's why the 2026 Almanac is being finished as we speak, because I want it into the publisher by June or July, so that if I'm lucky and things work out the right way, maybe the books will be in my hands by October and I can get them to you by maybe November, and you have them ahead of time, which would be phenomenal. I know you guys have digital copies, and you guys have all been greatly supportive, and I appreciate that. I did the digital copy so that you guys would have it from the get-go, but man, it aggravates the piss out of me to no end that you guys don't have the physical copies in hand by now. For me, it's almost as though a project from last year, it's almost like last year carried over into the spring, and I don't like the way that makes me feel. But what are you going to do about it? You know what I'm going to do? Have a glass of Old Homestead Absinthe. This is the 13th, which is our Vert Absinthe. And I think you guys are going to like it. It's incredibly complex. It is certainly not that traditional Belle Epoque sweet anise bomb. You don't need it to be. I like a little bitter in there, right? It's the we are in the solar sign of Aries, and that just so happens to be the time when you use blood tonics and digestifs and things of that nature. And so, what better time than now? Anyways, enough babbling on. There's a new episode, bonus episode of If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Not all of you will get it. That's okay. It's there for the very few who will get it. It's full of Easter eggs and maybe a little backmasking somewhere in there that one of you brilliant folks might be able to reverse and understand the message. But you guys have sent some fantastic messages, and let's get into them and some questions. So, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for passing along your knowledge to us. It means a lot that someone would take their time to teach the next generation of distillers. I'm always happy to do that. We've been running into a little issue with our grain. We are from South Florida and don't have many corn growers down here. I usually drive upstate and pick up bulk grain and store it in my garage when not using. We've had a bag get infected with weevils once, and it seems I can't fully kill them all. Man, they are a pain in the ass. There ain't no joke. They seem to get in the nooks and crannies of every corner. If I leave the grain in the bags, they always know how to get in. I have multiple questions on this subject. 1, what do legal distillers do when they have weevils? 2, is there a good way to store grain to protect from an infestation? Mind you, we have a lot of humidity down here. 3, is there a good way to eradicate them without being too toxic to use my distilling equipment again? Thanks again. From Tim. Great questions. I've fought weevils all my life, basically. So the real trick is to try to use the grain up as quickly as what you can, obviously. Now, it's not that the weevils are getting into your grain. The weevils come in the grain. A lot of people don't realize that, but those eggs for those weevils are already there, and they will hatch. And the bad thing about that is not only are they going to eat your grain, but when they hatch inside a bag of grain, they create a lot of humidity, which then creates mold. So now you've got a double issue, which sucks. It just absolutely sucks. And I don't know great ways to get around it. One of the only ways that I know of is to freeze them, but that requires a large walk-in freezer unit to put your grain in. One of the things that helps with mitigation a little bit is diatomaceous earth, which you can get in a powder form. It won't hurt anything in the art of distillation whatsoever. It will kill the weevils as it sort of desiccates them. It cuts them and causes them to basically lose all their moisture. But that doesn't solve the weevils, already being there in the grain. And it's an unfortunate thing that distillers are always going to fight. It's probably worse in hotter areas and more humid areas, up north. It's a little cooler, a little longer in the year. That probably helps out a good little bit. But yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that you're probably always going to be fighting with, I hate to say. So your best bet is not to buy any more grain than what you're going to use in a couple week period, and try to get through that as quickly as what you possibly can. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. So Roger says, Alan, love the podcast and YouTube videos. Thank you. Tons of knowledge that you provide. Thank you. Question on botanicals and scaling up for larger recipes. Currently, I'm doing a 3-gallon maceration for absinthe and gins and aquavit. I would like to scale up. I know that scaling up is not always just add 10 times as much. If I do a 30-gallon batch, are there any rule of thumbs for botanical scaling or just a trial and error? Thank you for your help, Roger. So a few rules of thumb. Well, one in particular is that anything small and anything spicy does not scale up. If you were using like 0.02 grams of something like cayenne pepper or black pepper or grains of paradise or anything of that nature, sometimes even cinnamon and things of that nature, just go ahead and presume that you're going to have to cut that by more than 2 or 3 times as you scale up, because they do not scale equilaterally, unfortunately, and they will really, really, really give you a very, very hard time. Remember that the more oily components that you have in a particular botanical spirit, the easier it will want to loosh slash saponify whenever you proof it down. And also having a good understanding of the physiological active ingredients in botanicals prior to distillation is great. The FDA GRAS list is generally recognized as safe. That's what GRAS means. Is generally a decent indicator, but really having a good botanical and herbal knowledge is going to help you out a whole lot more, because there are certain things that the FDA frowns upon that are traditional medicinals that have been used in alcohol that should be used in alcohol for all intents and purposes. But understanding the sort of thresholds of where something could become dangerous versus something is dangerous, the thresholds of how much of something can go into a spirit before it becomes an active component and has a physiological effect. Are there any counterindicators? Are there any downsides to using a particular botanical when it comes to health and happiness and mood and all those things? This goes into what I've talked about on the channel before about the approach to distillation, right? The intention, the discernment of the distiller to make good, joyful, happy alcohol that's also not bad for health. It's not negative for you in any way, shape, or form other than drinking too much, because alcohol itself is a poison to some degree. So really understanding those botanicals from a very, very deep level. Maybe even understanding, if you're harvesting your own botanicals or using your own botanicals, what some of the correlations are with, say, astrology, the planets, the signs, when's the best time to harvest them, the best hour of the day. Not that you always have to do that, but it's useful information. And if you're doing those things, you're going through those practices, it means that you're paying a little bit more attention in general to what you're doing, which means that you're going to pay a lot more attention to the distillation process itself. So, that's a great question. So I hope I helped you out there to some degree. So the other ones here are a little longer, so I'm going to come back and do another video here in just a few minutes, and see you guys in a couple days. But reach out to me with all your questions. bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, YouTube comments below, and on my social media. Oh, I do have one more that I didn't get to print off that I just thought of. Someone in the YouTube comments on a recent video about the difference between line arms and onion heads, asked about scrubbers. And if you could use scrubbers in a line arm as opposed to an onion head to get the same effect. They pointed out the sort of fruity sort of characteristic from an onion head, and let me say this, the scrubbers will help, and you can get very fruity distillates, very floral distillates using just copper piping and scrubbers. I would still argue from my experience, it's still not the same as using an onion head. An onion head has a very particular, very pronounced effect, as do all types of heads, but one is not interchangeable for the other. All can be useful, all are good tools, all are things that you should experiment with and play around with and find what does well for you and what is acceptable for you, but they're not interchangeable in my opinion. So, all right guys, love y'all, catch you soon.